Patterson, president of Shelby American, and you're listening to Nostalgic Radio and Cars.
Okay, listeners, welcome. You're tuned in to Nostalgic Radio and Cars, and I'm your show host, Robert. Run your computers in Google TanTalk1340.com, and you can see us live here in the studios in soggy Clearwater. Good evening, Bobby. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
Well, I was just about to say, after they go to the website, GulfstreamMotorsports.com, which you have been feverishly working on, is getting better and better and better all the time. My hat's off to you.
Yeah, look what all this rainy weather gives me time to do.
Yeah. Well, then, if they've missed any of our past shows, they can go to Nostalgic Radio and Cars page on our website, and they can listen to all our past shows.
Yes. In fact, the last 7 are on the side of every page on GulfstreamMotorsports.com, so they're just going to stare at you until you decide to listen to them.
Absolutely. So why don't you go ahead and do the social media honors, since we've been a little active on that as well.
Yeah, just a little. A lot of bit. On Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, Periscope, now part of Twitter, always part of Twitter, at NRC On Air, at Nostalgic Radio and Cars, and Instagram at Gulfstream Motorsports.
Oh, yeah, just GulfstreamMotorsports.com. I'm so used to saying .com. Hopefully, you guys caught that little segment we did at the beginning of the show here. It was the movie trailer for the 1966 Batman movie. That's a tribute that goes out to Adam West, and he was the Batman during the 66-67 Batman TV series. And, of course, they did that one movie, and unfortunately he passed away last week. So that was one of those TV shows that I truly, truly enjoyed as a kid. So there's a little tribute to Adam West, and hopefully a lot of you guys, a lot of you listeners out there remember that. So, at any rate, well, unfortunately, the last couple of weeks have been a little on the moist side here in sunny Florida, the sunshine state, the rain state, I guess I should call it now, At any rate, so the only thing we went to here in the last week or so was the Crown Motorsports Cars and Coffee this past Saturday at Audi of Clearwater. And that is a fun event. I really got to admit that I liked it a lot. Big shout out to Evan over there. And Crown Motorsports is definitely the place to go if you want to basically soup up your contemporary sports car. So
everything from alignment on up.
Hot rodding, computer stuff, tuning, suspension, whether you get an Audi, whether you get a Porsche, a BMW, or a Kia, or a Lamborghini, or a Ferrari, anything. They don't limit themselves to anything. So definitely check out crownmotorsports.com, right? Did I say that right, Bobby?
Yes.
I believe so. So, let's see. We have an interesting show for you this evening. Actually, we have a couple of people coming on that we met at the previous Cars and Coffee gathering in the morning. And one of the gentlemen that's coming on this evening has a real interesting business. As a matter of fact, he will be calling us from Deutschland. And for all you avid listeners, know that would be Deutschland is German for Germany. Deutschland. See, we say Germany here in the United States. Somebody wants a comment?
Yes, Troy is here.
Troy is on the line. Okay, so we want to welcome Troy to the show while we're talking to Vinny because you guys are good buddies. And Troy is the founder of Championship Touring, and he's calling live from Germany. Troy, how you doing? Servus, wie geht's? Guten Tag.
Hey, guys. How's it going? Happy to be here.
We're doing good.
Hello, sir.
Hi, Vinny.
So what's going on in Deutschland these days? Tell us
no problem.
Tell us about touring, Championship Touring.
Sure. No, happy to do so. I am here in Germany. I'm actually in Stuttgart, Germany, as I'm talking to you, and just finished up one of our most recent tours. It wrapped up yesterday. So the premise behind Championship Touring is to allow our wonderful petrol heads in the United States to make their European automotive dreams come true, right? So I've created a company that allows you to come over to Germany, experience the best the company has to offer, from driving the Autobahn to driving the backcountry roads to experiencing the automotive museums from Mercedes, Porsche, BMW, Audi, Volkswagen, and also experience the racing circuits here, like the Nürburgring.
Wow.
So most of us, as we've grown up enjoying the automotive industry, have always thought at some point, what would it be like to drive on the Nürburgring, the Nordschleife? And we can make that dream come true, along with a lot of other unique activities during one of our adventures.
Basically, what you do is you have the utopian job of basically traveling to some of the finest racetracks in Europe and basically allowing other people to share that experience. So tell us about that.
Absolutely. So the ability to bring a customer to drive on the Nordschleife, the Nürburgring, drive at Spa, the F1 track, Francorchamps, those two tracks are pretty popular for us. The customers I had in town recently took them to both tracks, not to drive, but to actually experience the tracks and learn the history. So our tours cater to the driving enthusiast who is a hardcore track junkie, but also the person who really enjoys the automotive industry and just wants to experience a bit of it. They've watched different TV shows on Velocity or on YouTube, watched videos and vlogs, things of that nature, listened to your show, Robert, and they really get a chance to then step into the shoes of someone that live in Germany and have a chance to see everything that this wonderful industry brings from this side of the world, from food to the nicest places to stay. Our accommodations are really themed in that car industry. For example, in Stuttgart, we partner with a hotel called the V8 Hotel. And the owner of that hotel, who I've become close with, he started very young, just like I did, as a car enthusiast, and went into the hotel business, owns a few different hotels, but specifically opened this hotel called the V8 Hotel that is themed in that automotive world. And every time we have customers there, every time I'm there, it's just such a great experience because you're not staying at a standard 3, 4, 5-star hotel even. You're staying in this wonderful environment that make you feel just as if you're out at the racetrack or in a paddock. It's just really cool.
Wow. For our listeners, I just want to mention that Spa is in Belgium and the Nürburgring is in southern Germany. So where else do you go besides Belgium and Germany? Do you go? And you mentioned, did you mention Monza, Italy as well?
I didn't mention Mazda, but we are actually expanding over the rest of 2017 and into 2018. We're actually working on some new opportunities, which I don't want to speak too much about right now, but we will start to travel to some of the other countries in Europe, which is pretty exciting for us.
Well, now, if you get to the Österreichring in Austria, sign me up for that one because that's a pretty impressive track. And I think they only run that limited times, a few times a year because it's kind of out there in the country, and they're very protective of that area, that geographic area there. But the racetrack is amazing, the Österreichring. And
I have heard that. It's just the world over here can be quite a bit different than the racing world that we see in the U.S., and that's an experience all on its own. For example, the customers that I had in, they were able to see a race at the Nürburgring this weekend, which there were 2 actual series going on there, GLP series, and then they had an RCN series, which a lot of the drivers that live throughout Germany are working on gaining their driver's license to race specifically, and they have to go through, just like you would in the U.S., through series. You have to participate so much to get these licenses. So it's great to see these different types of races, and those 2 were going on while we were in Germany that morning, and then in the afternoon when we drove over to Belgium, there was another race going on, and I don't recall the series because it was a surprise to us that day, actually. So they were able to see racing on both of these famous tracks. Talk about an experience, Robert.
Wow. Amazing. And both those tracks, by the way, Nuremberg being probably the most treacherous and one of the longest tracks in Europe, if I remember correctly, and Spa being a very, very technical track. I mean, you used to hear, like, I've had Brian Redmond on the show, Vic Relford, people like that, Bob Bondurant, Dan Gurney, everybody that's raced there said that is an extremely technical track, very challenging track, Spa is. So for these people to be able to go and take this trip to Europe and see something like that, an actual event on Spa, which is a very historic track, I might add as well, that's a huge opportunity. It really is.
We love being able to bring that experience. And to talk about the experience for a moment, as far as what it did for me, this is the 4th year of the company. I started back in 2012, originally coming over to visit friends, and experienced most of what I'm discussing today myself. And as I was going home, I just thought, how do I share this with others? And how do I do this again more often for myself as well? And that's where things really started for me. And it's been a great experience. And like you said earlier, it's almost like a dream job, right? It's a lot of hard work putting together the details and making what I call a seamless trip for clients, where we pick them up at the airport and they really just enjoy their time, whether it's a 5-day, a 7-day, a 9-day trip, what have you. They just worry about having fun, picking up souvenirs, gaining great memories, until I take them back to the airport and they head home.
So take us through the process. So let's just say I sign up. I'm in here in Clearwater, Florida, and I'm all booked and scheduled. So where do I go? I go to the airport, then what happens?
So the way the trip actually works is once we've gotten you signed up, you know the day and time that you need to book your airfare. That's the one piece that we do not take care of, because let's be honest, most customers have airline miles, or they have their own preference of how they do things, or perhaps they're doing 1 week with us and the other week is on a family adventure where maybe the rest of the family will meet them somewhere else. And that gives them that leeway to be flexible and book their own airfare. And I'm not a travel agent. I'm a tour guide. That is how the company is designed. So they'll show up exactly when and where I tell them to, and we'll pick them up at the airport. And then from that point, we start the adventure, depending on what they've booked. If we've created what we call tailored tour for them, which is more custom, or they pick one of the tours that we have advertised on our website. And the adventure begins there.
Okay, so then now it's a driving event. So in other words, do I have cars that I can drive? Do I drive these cars on the Autobahn? Do I drive these cars strictly on the track? Do we caravan in a bus? Or how does it basically work?
Perfect segue. So we do a lot of those things. Actually, we do all of them. From the airport, you'd be picked up in transportation, depending on the size of the group. We'd pick you up in various different vehicles. You would then be transported around as group transportation in those vehicles to get you to the different activities. For driving, we have somewhere in the neighborhood of 120 cars available over here. And just to name a few, we have most of the current model lineup from Porsche. So the GT3 RS, the GT3, the Cayman GT4, the new Cayman S, the previous Cayman S, Cayman GTS, the list goes on with Porsche, and the same with BMW. We've stayed with the M3, the M4, and the M2. We haven't moved to the M6 or M5 just because they're a little large and heavier, so we allow the customers to just enjoy the more nimble car for the track. And then we have a fleet of Renault Megane RS hot hatchbacks. Those are a car that we don't get in the U.S., but I'm thinking you may be familiar with those, Robert.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a fun hot hatchback, similar to our GTI in the U.S., but it has an inline 4-cylinder motor with the turbocharger, again, similar to the GTI, with 265 horsepower, and it does come with a manual transmission. So for the customer that really enjoys manual, he gets a fun car, small, nimble, easy to drive. Again, front-wheel drive, so it's a little safer when they're doing some track time. But then we have, again, all the lineup for rear-wheel drive as well for our clients. So those cars would be used for track time. So if you've booked, say, 4 laps on the Nürburgring, or you're actually booking a full track day with us, which there's quite a bit of difference between what we call the public driving session on the Nürburgring and a track day. A whole lot of difference there, where the track day, the event's actually closed to the normal public. People that have booked the private day are able to then drive with a few different rules and specifics for the day. And it makes it a little safer. It makes it a lot more fun for the experienced driver, because for the listeners, public driving session is what we've all seen on shows like Top Gear and on YouTube, where anybody can bring any street legal car to the Nürburgring, which is amazing. It's something that's very unique to any racing circuit in the world. However, remember, that means anybody can bring any legal car to the racetrack without any type of racing experience. And that's where you see the bus going around, and motorcycles, which motorcycles are great, wonderful for driving events. However, for an inexperienced driver and an inexperienced rider, it can become a interesting combination. So we offer those both, the public driving session and the track driving, with a private event. And of course, we have all the instructors to provide support. Really, what we've tried to do is provide the total package, Robert. All the experience that you would need as your first-time visit to Europe or your 100th visit when it comes to the automotive experience.
The thing that you mentioned about Nürburgring, which is true, is that's one of the few tracks in the world that I'm aware of that people can pretty much take advantage of, like you talked about, the leisurely drive. Pretty much during the week at any time, right? Unless there's a racing event going on, it's pretty much open to the public. So you just pay a certain fee and you can drive on the track. And then in your case, for the special people that have signed up for a special track day, that's a close to the public. And then you pretty much control the whole track that afternoon, for that whole duration of the day, correct?
That's correct. And
okay.
There are multiple companies that actually book track events at the Nürburgring and Spa. I don't want to leave Spa out to do the same thing there, but they don't really have the public driving. Like you said, it's specific to this track. It's pretty rare. And the private events, sometimes they're half day, most of the time it's full day. And typically the track will have somewhere around 150 entries for a private event. And that may sound like a pretty big number, but remember, in really the shortest orientation of the Nürburgring, it's 20.83 kilometers long. So, again, translate that to around 14 miles with quite a lot of turns. There's always an argument on how many turns are really on this track. I think the official number that the Nürburgring is using today is 73. And there can be as many as 150 that you really count when you go around the map and look. Most of those are unnamed. Several are named, but it's such a fascinating track, and the history behind that circuit. This is the 90th year, for example, and this coming weekend is the true birthday of the track. So 90 years of racing history. Amazing.
Okay, so now if I'm the guest, I'm the patron, I'm coming along for the ride, so I get the track day. So basically everything's inclusive. So you provide me with room and board, basically. So I have a hotel that I stay at, all my food, all my meals are included in the deal. What if I want to drive one of these cars, just say if I want to take them down the Autobahn and stuff like that? Am I limited on that, or is that part of the deal too, that I actually have access to a car to drive?
No, so that's one of the other activities we offer.
Okay.
It's called a road tour.
Uh-huh.
And excuse me, a lot of our clients will drive a much less power, safer car, if you will, on the track, which we all start somewhere and learn, and it's based on their experience and capabilities to what they've driven at home or driven on other tracks that really lead us down that conversation prior to the client ever arriving on our tour. We qualify them and help them gain the best experience they possibly can during their adventure. And by doing that, we explain to them what they should drive for the track. But when we talk about the road tour, now this is the car that many patrons aren't going to be able to afford. It's something they get a chance to really enjoy. Go back to that thought process of an exotic rental that you may do here in North America. you go out and rent that Ferrari for the day or that Porsche, and it's just to have fun and, get a chance to drive it. Well, I'm going to give you a chance to do that in Europe on the Autobahn, and we do it very safely. So the way this works, I'll talk about our most popular road tour, and it's actually my favorite too, Robert, because of what it includes. So this is a full day, and we call it the Mega Tour, and it's called that for a good reason, because you start out in Germany at the Nürburgring in a safety briefing where you learn what we're going to do that day and what are the do's and don'ts and how the day is going to operate. Now, I've typically talked about this with our clients during the process of getting them signed up, but we go through a nice safety briefing that morning to really key in on things that they need to be careful for. So this is done in a caravan format, whether we have one client or we have 10. And we do keep our tours small, so they stay individual, where you really get a lot of attention and you don't feel like you're in a big group. I don't care for that philosophy. I like small groups. So we have 10 clients maximum per trip. Some are even smaller.
Wow.
You finish that briefing and you get in your car and you start your day. Now, this day starts with a history tour around the Nürburgring. So we don't actually drive on track, but we drive to various locations in that area, and it takes half the day. It takes the morning. So you're stopping at key corners. You're learning the histories of what's happened here. You get taken to vantage points around the track, the original South Loop. You see the history of what this area, what this region really is, and it opens your eyes. It's really fascinating. And at that point, we have lunch in the area at a notable restaurant that's pretty famous for that region. It's quite an experience because you are usually rubbing elbows with the racing teams from around the world, because remember, this track is really a benchmark circuit where manufacturers come to test their vehicles. And from that point, you start through the back roads, head out onto the Autobahn, have a nice blast across the Autobahn on your way to Belgium, and then we do this same process again in Belgium at Spa.
Wow. Now, how long does it take to get from Nürburgring to Spa on the Autobahn?
About an hour and 15 minutes generally.
At what speed? Now, given that there are no Geschwindigkeits, which is German for speed limits, on the Autobahn, what kind of speeds are you traveling?
There are unrestricted sections, but there are sections of speed limits through certain areas of the drive.
Okay.
We've definitely seen speeds over 250 kilometers per hour.
Okay.
And sometimes a little higher. As you know, if you do the calculation, 300 kilometers an hour is around 200 miles an hour. So we're doing pretty well. And from a safety perspective, there is a tour car, a lead car in front of the caravan, if you will. And we have radios in the cars, so we're communicating at all times. When the tour car feels that we're in an area that we can speed up safely, we will go ahead and accelerate, let the whole group know, and everyone gets a chance to drive at speed. It's quite nice.
Wow. Okay. Now, what do you kind of like pre-qualify the guy? I mean, how do you know that you're the guy getting behind the wheel of a 400 and 500 horsepower Porsche is really qualified to drive that car? I mean, if I showed up, I'd show you my racing license. But let's just say the average guy, or is he in there with a kind of like an instructor?
So for the road tour, they're not in with an instructor. And the way that we typically do this, the instructors all do have racing licenses, and I feel them out during the conversations of leading up to getting to Germany, right? So I've already understood a lot of their background and their experience. Now, of course, they could be, just giving me some information. What really matters is when they get in country and we actually do the beginning of that morning. We're in slower areas, not a lot of speed, and you really have a chance to observe them. A lot of this goes on trust too, right? I mean, if they're going to drive the car, That's the qualification, is they've accepted the possible liability if they damage the car. I mean, it's just like renting a car in the U.S. again, whether it be exotic or otherwise, you still have liability. And if you damage the car, then you're going to have to pay for it. So we do talk about that with clients. But there have been a few accidents over the years, and I've talked about this with my partners. Never knock on wood with my tours, but they have seen some challenges, if you will, on the road tours. But at the same time, 95% of them have been accident-free, right? So.
Excellent. All right, we're up against the clock right now, so one more time, Troy, why don't you go ahead and give out the information if somebody wants to find out about this, and then, Vinny, I'll have you come on real quick and do the same.
Okay. Perfect. Well, thanks, Robert. I do appreciate being here. For anyone who's interested, we have our fall tours coming. The next tour starts August 29th, and you can find more information out about us on championshiptouring.com, or you can call us directly at 813-362-3838.
Excellent. And Vinny, people want to find out about Maseratis. Where do they go? How do they find out about them?
MaseratiUSA.com, or go to Maserati St. Petersburg or Maserati of Tampa.
Excellent. Hey, I want to thank my special guest this evening, Troy Macias from Championship Touring and Vinny Russo from Maserati. You guys take care. Both of you guys have a fun time and a safe trip back to good old Clearwater here. And again, I want to thank you guys for hanging out with us a little bit here on Nostalgic Radio and Cars. In the meantime, I want to tell all my listeners, don't forget, check us out every Tuesday night, 7 to 8 p.m. on the Tan Talk Radio Network here at Nostalgic Radio and Cars. Don't forget to check out our website, GulfstreamMotorsports.com. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. In the meantime, everybody stay safe, drive carefully, and love your family.